So reading through stories brought up a memory of my stepdad telling me a story when I was about 15, that I thought I'd share. Mum was out somewhere and I was at home watching a movie with my stepdad. He'd been in our lives for a couple of years by this stage. He started to tell me about a dream he had when he was much younger, previous to meeting my mother and us kids. He says in his dream he walked into a bathroom, which had the same tiles from the bathroom in our previous home, and there stood a witch-looking lady, laughing. He looked at the bathtub and in it were mine, my brother's and my mother's heads, floating in blood. He said when he first came over to our old house he recognized the tiles in the bathroom from his dream. I mentioned it to my mum and she just says yeah, he's told me about that too, I'm okay. Honestly, if I was in her shoes I probably would have left him over that. Whether or not it was true, it's severely messed up. He says he never mentioned it while we lived in that house so as to not scare us. Would love to hear people's thoughts on this. Hello. I need some advice. In my apartment we have something that's been knocking on the walls and windows. We are second floor, and a normally non-noisy apartment, for like a good year or so. We never thought much of it until my roommate and I both experience weird feelings in the apartment with random things like hair ties that went missing showing up placed in the middle of our beds. Sometimes when you look at a certain mirror it falls, it's extremely sturdy on the wall, we normally catch it but it's weird. Our cat has also started acting weird. Hair up walking weird into the living room when the lights there are off, she will eventually run and hide in her tunnel. I have also woken up in a sleep paralysis type state where I saw something with a skull as a head turned towards me to stare at me. I have also had weird phone issues. My recommend news pages all being about tarot readings, something I never search. For context, I live in my great aunt's old house. It used to be an apartment but when the man downstairs passed away, in the hospital, not in the house, we turned it into a single family home. Anyways, I was very close with my Aunt Julia who was very old when I was born. Even though she was old she would read to me, color with me, play with me, and held me, even broke her hip holding me knowing that I was getting too big, but she loved me so much that she kept trying. I spent every day at my grandma's house with her while my parents worked, and one day while I was in bed with her holding me, she passed away. Many family members were also in the room, and when I realized that she passed I felt this sense of pure comfort and peace come over me. My grandma took me out of the bed and explained what happened, and I apparently smiled and said that I knew. I was about 2.5 when this happened. After that, I kept telling my family that she sat in my room while I slept. She told me that she was there to protect me. Everybody thought that I was just processing death the best I could as a child, but I was never really upset with the fact that she died while she was holding me because even as kid I understood that she went peacefully and there was nothing to be scared of. My family was religious so at the time I was happy that she went to heaven. Of course, my parents and grandparents sat me down and had conversations about it, and I took it well. Every morning when I woke up I would tell my parents that she was there watching me sleep and it started to freak them out, so they took me to a doctor to talk about my feelings and what I was imagining. A couple days after the appointment, I was playing in my room and saw my aunt and started talking to her while we played together. My mom walked in and asked me who I was talking to, and I pointed and said Auntie Julia. My mom looked horrified and picked me up and took me out of my room and sat me on the couch and turned on the TV so she could make a phone call. I heard her on the phone with my grandma in the other room telling her that she walked in on me pointing to and talking to my aunt, and when she walked in it smelled like her perfume that she used to wear before I was even born. When she came back out to the living room she was teary-eyed and asked if I was scared and I said no, and she told me that one of the last conversations she had with her, My aunt told her that she would forever be there for me and do whatever she could to make me feel safe. Eventually I stopped seeing her and talking to her, but I can still physically feel her presence around me, mostly when I'm sad or going through rough times with my mental health. I still remember all of the times she visited me so vividly, and I've talked to many therapists about it and they don't really have an answer. I'm not religious anymore, so I haven't turned to anybody in a church to seek out an explanation, but it's really comforting to know that I meant so much to her and that her energy is always with me. I've had encounters with each creature from above. I started to see gnomes when I was 12 or 13, they were small and ran across the floor. This has continued to happen without provoking or summoning. My last encounter, I was not the only one who saw it. My friend and I were sitting on my porch and one humanoid figure ran by. It was too small to be a human with those capabilities. Shadow people have always been a problem, my mom said. When I was a baby, one figure hovered over me. I have tried taking videos of them and I have had technical difficulties where they cannot be captured and the video no longer loads and works. They have been ranging in heights but are usually tall. They are dark but have humanoid figures. I see them more clearly in sleep paralysis, but when I am awake I see them as well. My last memorable sleep paralysis shadow figure hovered over me. They resembled the figure of death. I've had feeling of levitating during paralysis and getting blankets taken off me, along with waking up in weird positions like laying horizontally in bed when I go to sleep vertically. When they are around I feel anxious and fearful. I pray in hopes they will leave. In terms of ghost, I have seen a pale woman with a face dressed in dark clothing in my home. They were there for a moment and left. I am concerned due to my use of the Ouija board in my home. I had 2 childhood homes that were haunted. One, a boy lived there. There was footsteps and you would see the boy at times. We moved. In this home things would move by themselves, items will fly off counters and shelves. My mom would see it, as would I. In terms of witches, my mom and dad both practiced. One day I went to the woods and saw a witch, or what I believed to be one. I was in a wooded area by myself going on a walk, and in the trees I saw a woman wearing a black dress that was very layered. They were not flying, more just levitating. I pretended to not see it and quickly walked away outside of the woods. When I looked back, the woman was on the side of the trail. There was not a possibility that it could have gotten there so quickly. It did not make contact other than stare. Unlike the woman I perceive as a ghost, this entity was solid. They looked like a human and were aged but had capabilities that were not human. Lastly, I make painting and draw, but I have terrible experiences making them. I will see shadow people around me crawling on the walls, which in turn makes me destroy all my art because I think it releases evil. I slept on the couch last night and I heard a voice coming from near my last painting. I feel eerie when looking at it. It is hung in the living room behind the couch. As I laid down I heard my roommate's voice from behind me. I knew he was not behind me because he was sleeping in his room. It kept calling me and I did not respond. I try to never respond. I don't know why supernatural encounters keep happening. If anyone has any way I could decrease the encounters from happening, please help.
Mosey on down to the Atomic Shaman Trading Post. We have t-shirts, decals, refrigerator magnets and other swag for sale. What better way to show your support for the show? Our merch can only be found on t.pub/lit/Atomic Shaman Trading Post. Like, share and subscribe to the channel, and be sure to ring the notification bell. You can follow us on Twitter at Motel and RV Park. Catch the live streams on Rumble. Listen to text-to-speech stories on Atomic Shaman TTS on YouTube.